All right, guys. Happy Friday. Hope everybody had a great week. Lots going on. Finally, a little bit of vol or breakdown in equities to kind of shake things up a little bit. We'll see if we get follow through next week. I think August, September, there'll be a return to some volatility. So looking forward to that, especially in the third quarter. I wanted to touch on, I'll do a recap of this morning's trading, maybe some global macro. And then also this weekend, I'll do another video a little bit later on this. I'm doing a live webinar for free on Sunday. Just going to be talking to a whole new group of traders that we're excited to work with. Going to be going over some of the edges and cyclical concepts that we use in the model. I'm also going to be talking about some psychology of trading concepts, which, man, I haven't done any blog posts or put out really an analysis or anything on that in a while. So it's a nice slide deck, probably one of the best webinars I've ever put together. A lot of free info. Yeah, so I'll have an update on that. But the big thing this morning, want to review the day trade stuff, and then again, there's new OptionsEdge program that we have going. Guys, is a great deal. It's $100. If you go to cyclical.com, I'm going to explain kind of how it works, but it's $99 and it's a great way for smaller accounts to get involved with not just learning the model, because I'm including the options course, which is huge amount of information on the model. But if you're brand new to trading options, I go through that. Hedging, simple stuff. What is an option contract? How it's traded? Different strategies, simple strategies. Debit strategies are simple, just long calls, short calls, long puts, short puts. And then I get into even the more advanced strategies, which is one of my favorites. I even talk about ratio back spreads. But I'll show you where you get involved with that. But there's a couple trades we've made this week, and I think are setting up, especially with this vol trade that I just had mentioned coming into next month. There's a lot to do in the options space, and then also we're running that alongside the algo and what we're doing there. All right, so let's get into the day trade. I was looking at the VIX. He came in this morning on NASDAQ. So a lot of traders in the mornings they get really bogged down with trying to figure out what's going to happen. I'm going to talk about this Sunday on the webinar. Like, you got to get to a point as a trader. The trader's mindset should be, I don't need to know what's going to happen. I want to be open-minded and just go with what is. So I'd rather see you identifying off the open and work with my guys in the inner circle on that a lot. And so we were a pretty decent amount of selling yesterday. Overnight and really into the London session, they just kind of grind it back up. And so when you come in this morning, you've already had a decent bounce, but you're in an uptrend. So the market opened down, and I'm not trying to decide on what to do based on what's happened earlier. I'm just noticing that, okay, we've had a decent rally in the morning, and here's the trend. The bands, this is the higher low. Let me get the pen out. This is the higher low that matters for this uptrend coming into the open. And so this is the first edge that I care about right here on the 5-minute chart. And I'll show you on the 1 minute what that looks like also. And then these were the highs before the open. So that's kind of gives me the reference point, creates a box is what I call also. That's kind of your box to trade off of. Right. This is for right off the open. And so that's kind of the extent of what I do before the market open. I don't try to overanalyze it. And what I'm looking for is the first flow and energy and the first push right off the bat. So on NASDAQ, here's that box I'm talking about. You have the pie line down here. It's in line with what we call the TMS on the 5-minute. And then here's the highs. So the first drop, I'll put the Russell up on this side. See if we can get to the 1 minute. And then here's the, I'll just leave the 5 minute here for S&P. All right, so S&P's came down right on the open. And one of the first trades I did was to buy into the pie line down here. Okay. And then I believe I actually shorted the minis on the way down also. But minis, sometimes I just start, the first thing I'll trade just to get my feelers in the market. But I was really looking for this edge here on the 5 minute. Okay, and then as we dropped, I bought that. I ended up buying the NASDAQ also, and it had a little bit of pop. And then as we moved back into the highs, I was long S&P, and you can see that it didn't really bounce that much, right? Versus NASDAQ went all the way back to the high of the morning. So I was long here, and I was like, well, this isn't really performing that well. But I was long off the bottom, and then that gave me a little bit of profit to say, okay, let's try a short into this 1 minute cycle. It's a 1 minute chart. So I faded this on the way back up. And then you can see there's a swing line here on the 1 minute. You ended up breaking that, dropping. And I ended up covering back into the low. That was like the first two moves. First move down, retrace, back down. All right. And then you can see S&P didn't budge. So I ended up staying long S&P through this low. And then because I made some money here short, you can see here that the NASDAQ then bounced again. And I think after covering this short, because this isn't a downtrend, I went a little bit contrarian long, maybe minis. I can't remember. I have to bring up the other executions. But when we bounced back up, I kind of waited again for this 1 minute cycle, and there was another short here. So the NASDAQ gave you two opportunities to short. And S&Ps couldn't bounce at all during that, which is kind of weird because usually they'll trade tick for tack. And then on the Russell, I ended up missing this bounce because I was involved on the NASDAQ, but this was a good setup. So I teach this all the time. You have your bearish wall, boom. The bears put that in right off the open. The first bounce back, it's tough to knock that entire wall down. You fade it, and then boom, you got the drop. So I was late. I missed. That was what I could have done better, but I'm glad I was playing NASDAQ. And so I kind of missed that. And then I believe when I was covering and booking gains on NASDAQ, I decided that was a pretty good failure and I want to be short. So I sold some down. And then I caught this break down, and there's a BCI here, we call that, on the 1 minute, and I added to it, and then the next push ended up covering. So I don't know if it was like 1978, somewhere down here. I don't think I grabbed this bottom, but right in here. So this was a good short. That's the first. This is the last video I did. I was talking about buying the open because the market was rallying, but I was looking for this, right? This morning, it was the opposite. It was down and then boom. Down, back up, boom. And usually the second leg is bigger. Kind of why I sold it down, because I thought if this low goes, you're going to get a good flush. Okay, so that's the bulk of the opening morning trade right there. Down, up, down. That was that trade. The morning trade's over. Then when you start to move into some of the wider cycles on the 5 minute. All right, let's see what the 5 minute cycle on the Russell looks like. See how you cover into the lows down here, you get a secondary bounce back to the bands. This 5 minute cycle move was good. And so I ended up taking the next later morning move short here, I think. Oh, why I'm having troubles remembering. Short here, boom, cover. And then I ended up doing the same with S&P. So S&P, I carried this long here. I think I made a little bit of money on that first pop, and then I was still long because I was short. And so I think I ended up stopping, cutting that off there, but made more money on this side. And then the secondary move I just explained on the Russell took place here on S&P. It's the same bounce, but ended up shorting first up here, which was a little bit early. Okay, sold more into this turn. And what I'm trying to do, sometimes you're early, like I sold this part of the cycle, but then I'm trying to sell again up around here and catch this turn. I'm not sure if I added more right there or not. I think I did. But I also grabbed that on the NASDAQ as well. So, whoops. Oh. Try one more time. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So here is that secondary bounce, or the third one on NASDAQ. So these were good. And then as we're dropping here, I'd already made some good money on NQ short. I ended up buying the minis contrarian long. So when you're contrarian, meaning this is making lower lows, I was looking for a bounce. I went long the minis, which is fine. And then I traded the minis long here. Again, as they're coming up this cycle, okay, I'm playing the uptrend here on the tick chart and using the minis long just to kind of help me sit through my short that was a little bit out of the money. And then I did a good job adding to the full contract near the high of the cycle, and then covered about halfway through the move. And I think I caught most of this move on the Russell down, and then maybe even more on S&P there also. And that was it for the morning session. Three nice plays on NASDAQ. A little bit of a move in S&P. Losing a little bit here, which is fine. Did better on this side. That's why I like the pairs trade. Making money back on S&P there, and then capturing this on the Russell too. So what that looked like as far as the executions. Here's the Russell short. See, I was late, didn't sell that pop. That was the down move pop. Missed that short cover. Oh, sorry, short added, and then cover. A little bit early on the cover, but again, I was grabbing this on the NASDAQ. Short, cover into that push. There was more on the NASDAQ there on the way down also. I think I ended up shorting minis on the way down after I locked in these gains. So I made a little bit on minis on the way down. And then here's that secondary trade I was talking about, selling the top of that 5 minute and 1 minute cycle. Cover. And so if you're short a couple lots here, like you could fade it first, it starts to break, sell another one. This cover is fine, the first push, but then I would want to trail this out and grab the rest of those bars. And then this is S&P. This is, you can see here's the long. Made some money on the bounce. I bought that pie line I talked about. There's pie on the chart. And then this is me long while I'm shorting here. And I stopped on that. And actually, I stopped on it and then I went short. I think I don't know why I did that. I think I was long minis. And I was like, well, I'm going to push the short, maybe get a little bit more. I'm not sure what that was. And then this is the bounce back up. Short, short, cover, cover. Also added short there. And then I think I have one more screen that shows. Here's the same thing with the minis on the right-hand side. It was short. This is what I was saying. I just put my feelers in right off the bat on the market. We were already down, so I didn't want to like sell a full contract short, especially in front of this pie line in the bottom of the 5-minute. So I just put the S&P out, or sorry, the NASDAQ short first, and then end up buying that S&P long. And I did sell minis up there also, like I did in the full contract. Here I went contrarian long, made a little bit on the bounce. And then I was still carrying the long on the way down as I was short NASDAQ. These minis are just, it's not as directional as the other full contracts, but this is me starting to be contrarian long that I mentioned. And then here's me working the long side that I talked about on the way up while I was short S&P. And then you can see once I was short S&P and that starts to break in my favor, I just started buying that back. I was long, sold it, and then this is me just getting out of the rest of what's left over. So okay, morning, couple grand. So guys, that's how we do the day trading. Our inner circle program is always open for anybody that wants to trade with us. Tuesdays and Thursdays live. I give you all my courses, all the trading on the model. It's 9 hours. So that's always available on the site. And then what I wanted to highlight with the options stuff. So with the algo service, we're running these models, and I just wanted to show too that like this is so helpful. We can get, as part of the algo service, you can get these on your charts, guys, for you in different time frames. So this is the NASDAQ. It grabbed that secondary short nicely, covered it well. There was another short I didn't take, and then here it's got the trend kind of changing. But you can run that alongside your manual trading, your discretionary trading. And then I'm using this for other core positions and our swing trades and our option plays. All right, so the algo service is great because it's $250, and then I include the real-time alerts for crypto and the Cyclical Pro. So that's included. So in the Cyclical Pro, we've had a bunch of great calls. Here we basically took NASDAQ off into the highs earlier in the week. Made nice money there. I had some short on in the pound. We talked about selling the weekly levels. That's the copper coming off. We booked gains on. Yeah, that's more of the NASDAQ trade. And then just talking about taking profits in gold. We got the book this morning or earlier yesterday. And then now gold's pulled back. So you got to rebuy that. Good covers in copper. Been short the pound into this 131, 132 area. I've been talking on the weekly chart. That's absolutely cratered this week for us. That was another great call. Covering some Russell yesterday. If you covered yesterday, you got a chance this morning to resell the bounce, and then that went straight down. This is me selling 10s earlier in the week at 113, booking gains on that. So there's a lot of consistency around the model. We have a lot of good calls, and I'm just trying to help you put it all together. There's a lot to trade, but it's kind of what we do on the global macro side. Today we're buying gold, covering copper shorts, coming out of utilities long. All right, and then so the options edge, again, I think there's a big trade coming in volatility, so I've been fading that. I just put out some puts on SVXY. Fading the financials this morning. Tesla yesterday, we had a good call to buy some puts. I still think you could trade down to 240, but there was some couple grand there on just a few puts that we put out. Here's what was available on NASDAQ, kind of following the algo in the model. That's a triple Qs. So tons of value, guys, here, not to mention, again, the course here that you get on the options side, whether you're new or you're looking for advanced strategies. Is just how we trade options with the model. So go to cyclicacapital.com. You'll click services. If you're interested in the algo, one-time price, again, this is amazing deal, $250, covering all the different markets using the algo and the computer and the cloud. And then this is the option service. And I'm just trying to help as many people as we can, because I'm about to get busy with the coaching and mentorship with this whole new community. So if you guys want to get involved with the option program, it's $100. I mean, that's nothing, right? For one trade and basically all my teaching. We used to sell that for $3 grand, 3,500. All right, guys, have a great weekend. I'll try to come back with a little bit more macro towards the end of the day and some details on the webinar. But sign up for OptionsEdge, and we'll be ready to rock and roll next week.